Let's go to some passages that keep pastors like myself up at night. Last 12 verses of Mark. The woman caught in adultery in John. The angel and the bloody sweat in Luke 22. Your team had to make calls on these. Walk us through how you handled them. You don't have to go through every single one, but walk us through how you handle them and what Christians should understand about these texts.
Yeah. Now, first of all, the three problems you mentioned are probably three of the four biggest problems there are in the text. The good news is these have been problems for the last 1600 years.
Okay.
Which is sort of interesting that with all the manuscript discoveries, etc., the number of big problems has not increased whatsoever. No, it is still the same problems as there always been. That they're limited. We know it. They are. They've been studied and talked about for the last 1600 years. Now, for example, with the two biggest ones when it comes to the number of words involved are indeed the last verses of Mark and the story of the woman caught in adultery. Now, the ending of the Gospel of Mark, well, actually, there are only two manuscripts of the Gospel of Mark that miss out on those last 12 verses. But those two are actually the two oldest manuscripts we have of Mark. But then there is the discussions in the church fathers about these verses. So Eusebius, the church father, lived in the first half of the 4th century, may have lived before the time of our oldest two manuscripts, actually. He already discusses the problem that, he says, well, most of the manuscripts finish with what we call Mark 16:9. They did not say anything to anyone, for they were afraid. End of the gospel. So that is where Eusebius says most of the manuscripts finish there, but some also add these words, and then comes the long ending. So he knew about the problem, and he says most manuscripts do not have the long ending.
Interesting.
And then there are many medieval manuscripts where you find a note in the margin that the following verses are absent in the oldest manuscripts, etc. So it's a well-discussed problem,
sure,
even though there are only two manuscripts that leave out the long ending of Mark. How we went about it in the Tyndale House edition is that we put that note, which we find in those medieval manuscripts in the margin, also in the Greek New Testament, and basically which said, no, in the oldest manuscripts, the following verses do not exist, but in many also the following is found. And then we give the long ending. And the thing is, if you put a knife on my throat and say, okay, but did Mark write those verses? Yes or no? I would probably say, well, probably not, but I would be sort of 55-45 kind of balance type of thing. Okay. And that is because I can imagine a scenario in which those verses are part of the original gospel. I don't think it happened, but I cannot exclude the scenario. And that scenario would be like this. Traditionally, the Gospel of Mark gives us the preaching of Peter. So what we have in first 16 chapters then is Peter's voice. The final part, the conclusion of the Gospel, is clearly written in a different voice than the main body. But then, could that have been Mark's own voice at that point?
Oh, interesting.
And there is a sort of clear distinction between the two.
Sure.
I don't think it is, but it may have been the case.
I got